There, I think we're.
Well, Trippi, I think we are live, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I am looking out the window into downtown Chicago right now. I cannot see any National Guard troops at this time, but they are here, which ain't great. They're setting up for the marathon, so there's police anywhere anyway. This is probably the safest weekend to walk around Chicago, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
I went to With Honor summit on defense of democracy, strengthen democracy summit, and they had a event at Union Station, and I can tell you, Union Station was very very safe because there were like dozens of National Guard all over the place there. Now I just don't think a whole lot of criming is going on in Union Station and in DC. But anyway, but they were there and they kept us safe. And you have to look at those. Looking at these guys, you could tell that they were bored out of their minds. I mean, they're just basically standing there. Anyway, again, but obviously the whole purpose of it is to intimidate. Uh, Particularly in Chicago, I guess now Portland, uh, just trying to push everybody's button. DC seems to have it seems to be pretty calm with everything right now. But
I feel like a good. I can't remember who did this, and I'll plug the podcast in a minute. But someone called it MAGA theater.
Yeah, it is.
Basically, everything that's been happening, and it's this ain't gonna do anything. Looking around Chicago, Chicago's even with a rookie mayor, they're not intimidated. JB's not gonna stand down on any of this stuff. It really is just for the people who watch Fox News and are trying to be distract
Yeah.
from the fact that their eggs cost more and their groceries cost more, but they see, oh, but he's sending troops into the cities, he's cleaning up crime. I mean, I know a lot of people who are afraid to come in downtown in major cities now because they've been buying the crime narrative. So it goes back to that 97.3 thing Trump is talking about. There is something to it, but to me, it's just playing to the base.
Well, no, I think it is playing the base, but it's also one more step at a time until it's ICE in front of ballot boxes, protecting the ballot boxes from illegals voting, which is what all this, I think, is a slow grind towards what his intent is. And this is all it's feeding the base at the same time as making a bunch of people in places like Chicago right now struggling, go like, what the hell? This, we don't need this. Why are they here? But nothing really happens, and so it makes the next incremental step of protecting polling places from illegals, and ICE cracking down during that period. I think is what this really is all about.
So before we get to a bunch of questions, and we got some good ones this week, I do want to just plug a new episode of our podcast that Trippi Show dropped this morning, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, with Maricha Shaka, who's one of the smarter people I think we've ever talked to.
Yeah.
She has an awesome book called The Tech Coup that everyone should check out. It almost seemed like it was kind of like the evolution or the answer to the questions you asked in The Revolution Will We Not Be Televised, which again came out a really long time ago. But
yeah, as you point out, the book is legal drinking age now. So yeah, but I think she was a member of the Dutch representative to the EU in Parliament, who has really focused a lot on these technology issues, and I think more than any public official I know grasps literally the coup that is happening right now, and it's happening a lot faster here in the States, and frankly, a lot of alarm to Europe trying to decouple from being so dependent on our on our on Elon Musk's social network. The real trauma that's doing to our democracy here, all of them, all the algorithmic driven for profit networks in the United States, and now TikTok, particularly with who's about to own it, starting to really her. I think I really hope people listen to give the podcast a listen, because I think it's pretty instructive.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to some questions. We didn't get to too many on the pod or any yesterday. Just run through a couple of these. Joe, pick one you want. This is from Andra in Tennessee. Do you think Trump's going to invoke the Insurrection Act, and what happens if he does?
Yeah, no, and I think that was telegraphed a lot by Stephen Miller when he made the faux pas of I don't know
The
what people
plenary
say.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said it was the president has plenary power to invoke troops at any time. He immediately stopped himself because he knew that he had sort of tipped the hat of what they're trying to do and what they intend to do. But I don't think there's any question about it. I think a lot of this, going back to Alex, how you started this, it's to feed the mega base, et cetera, but it's also to provoke. I think they want to provoke some kind of violent, protest, getting into it with the National Guard, so that so that then he can invoke, say, look, there's this. It is an insurrection. They're rising up against the National Guard and ICE. I've got to stop this, and then invoke the Insurrection Act. And the real question still is, with the House, the Senate, and the presidency and the Supreme Court, when he does this, because I think he will eventually do it. Not saying this week or even this year, but I think eventually. That's what that's what I was talking about with the ICE in front of the ballot boxes. This is all an attempt to. I think they know. He knows where his numbers are. He wants to remain and have absolute power, and the only way to do that is to to have Hegseth and him go in front of the generals and tell them what's going to. We've got domestic enemies now. All of us. If you actually listen to every step, it's the slow grind.
Well, and I just saw Fred came up in the comments saying it does make sense when you add in outlawing mail ballots. This is not the behavior of an administration, a party, a movement that thinks they're winning just on the numbers. To your point, this is the behavior of an autocratic regime trying to do whatever they can to cling to power. And 2 weeks ago, one of our podcast guests brought up Mussolini and pointed out, look, when autocrats' power is slipping away, they don't let it slip away. They grab at it harder.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
And I think that started happening right after Epstein. When Epstein, if you go back and trace when the Epstein thing really broke and started to be a problem with Trump, I know people thought, well, distraction. Yes, he wanted to distract from that, of course, but also that's when his numbers started collapsing among independents back then, when he started to collapse to the low 40s, high 30s in approval on just about everything. All of a sudden, he picked up the phone, called Texas, called Abbott, I need 5 new districts. That's when they started their assault on midterm gerrymandering, because they can't win them straight up. That's when the real ratcheting went up with National Guard into the cities, and I think that's exactly what it is. They are the deeper in the crap he gets, the more authoritarian and the faster the grab becomes. And the question is, when at some point you got to believe that, and it's happening in the polling. More and more Americans are starting to get what's going on, to see it that way, to see that that democracy really is being threatened. And so the question is, does he overstep enough that before 26 there's enough people in the streets to say no more? Otherwise, I think he's just going to continue to push. And actually, he may want more of us in the street so that, again, it's the insurrection. We'll see. But I think he wants to provoke violence. That's what I think is going on here.
All right, let's see another one. Oh, loaded one. Was wondering when we get one like this, Trippi. Do you think the Dems are playing the shutdown appropriately? What else should they be doing? Now, this is from Brian in New Mexico. What I will say is if you go on any Republican owned piece of real estate, whether it is the White House official site, whether it's Mike Johnson's email list, whether it's basically anything, every single one of them are calling it the Schumer shutdown, and they are calling it the Democrat led shutdown. So, Joe, you think our response is where it needs to be right now?
Well, they're saying that, but the numbers, at least that I'm seeing in the data polling underneath everything, no. People are saying they want the shutdown to stop, but they're also saying like something like 57% in a poll I saw this morning saying don't reopen it without protecting our health care. So the problem they have here is the same in a lot of ways the same problem Biden had with great jobs numbers. Jobs numbers were great, but people like weren't buying it because their prices were going up. Well, guess what? He said he'd lower prices on day one. Didn't happen. Prices keep going up. Trump, I mean, and people's health care is going up, and it's going to double. And they're starting to realize that because they're seeing it in all the back and forth. And so, no, I think. Look, you could argue about what issue you would have fought over the shutdown, but and let me tell you something else. People talk about, well, hey, the shutdown, healthcare isn't going to happen. Prices aren't going to go up until I think it's November 1st. It's when people will start actually seeing it, getting the letters with the new prices, the new uptick of some cases 100% of what they're paying now, uptick on doubling of their health insurance premium. If this goes on, we're talking right now, it's October 10th, 11th, 10th, I think. So this, if you're Democrats, you may start to lose this a little bit, fighting about healthcare. But if the Republicans don't settle this by November 1st, in other words, if this does go another 20 days, no matter what pain they think they're inflicting, by the way, ask yourself which party's out there trying to inflict as much pain during the shutdown and what party's not. Well, it's the Republicans trying to inflict, and Trump for sure, the most pain. What the pain point is going to be for them on November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd is people actually do see what Democrats have been saying is true. My health care premiums are doubling. Whoa. And I don't believe that Johnson or Thune, I don't know about the president because he might like to do that, but I think the members on the Republican side are
let me give you a couple numbers, and pretty much across the board it's at least about a 12 or 14 point shift in or difference in between who gets more blame.
Right.
The American public generally is blaming Republicans more, which, okay, that number needs to be higher given that the Republicans control every branch of government, but we'll take what we can get. Fred Yang and Hart just put this poll out in general. Fred has great numbers. I generally trust what he has to say.
I trust Fred's numbers completely.
This was for SMP, so take that with a grain of salt. But again, good numbers from Fred. 52% of likely voters blame Trump and Republicans, 40 Democrats, but 62% say preventing major health insurance premium hikes is more important than ending the shutdown quickly. And among independents, it's 64%. So to the listener question about healthcare, actually, this is kind of one of the don't necessarily believe what all the talking heads are bleeding about, even though we're doing it right now. The American people don't want to pay more for healthcare. And in a world right now where costs everywhere are rising, if I could suggest one thing to our wonderful friends and allies, it would be to keep hammering the costs message. This is about keeping your costs down, and we are not going back until we are guaranteed that your costs are not going up.
Right. And I again, my point though, and Alex, you're right, but my point is the closer we get to people actually getting the bill, or who's somebody's telling the truth here, and people are going to find out the truth is going to will out the more we get in, the longer this plays out. And I think actually probably too, the loudness of the lies will get louder from Trump and his MAGA members in the House and Senate will get louder, and then the truth will out, and the American people already are feeling that truth. That's why they're sitting there at 64%, saying, "Stay in, make sure healthcare doesn't go up before you settle this." So I think you can, like I said, you could argue there may have been a different issue or something. I know everybody, may have their own ideas, but this is the course that got taken, and so far it's playing out in a way that I think may make sense, may make a lot more sense to people once they start getting those healthcare premium updates.
Right. All right. I think we got time for a couple more. What else we got today? Oh, good. We're talking Comey. Joe, this is from Masuma in New York. When Comey was indicted, everyone went crazy. Legal podcasters went into overdrive to cover it. Do you think the James Comey indictment is getting enough attention?
No, I think I think that means the Letitia James.
The Letitia James. Yeah, got it.
It's interesting because I haven't followed that one that much. That's an interesting point, because that one clearly isn't getting the kind of
right,
coverage.
and it's clearly just a ridiculous revenge indictment.
They all are. They all are ridiculous revenge indictments, and I think the question will be, like, how long does the Comey indictment actually stand up in court in terms of, and look at, in a lot of ways, yeah, I'd take the same tack Comey did. Let's go to trial. Let's have it. Because I think the more people, the trials will get. I mean, if they ever go to trial, will get attention. And I think I find it hard to believe that that a jury will, that either of them would be convicted because they're so trumped up. But, and the pun's intended. So we'll see. But yeah, that's a good point. It probably should be getting more attention, but then, media is so fragmented and so all over the place on what's covering this. And of course, the other thing is the Comey indictment wasn't the same period as Gaza peace, breaking out, which Trump does deserve some credit for. So I'm not going to take that case, but that is what's been dominating everything, and probably it may not have been dominated even the Comey indictment, but I think the Letitia James thing is right. It's not getting the attention it deserves.
All right, I think we got time for like one or two more.
So masked thugs.
Okay, Casey in California. Masked thugs are shooting pastors in the head with pepper balls. Should we be worried about No Kings? I think he's talking, or she is talking about the upcoming No Kings protests on the 18th, I believe, is the next round.
18th? No, go.
Yeah.
Actually, what I would be saying is it would be better if we'd all been standing there with those pastors. And it would be better if more of us are standing there at No Kings on October 18th. And so I continue to say this over and over again. If you've gone to a No Kings protest and you brought 2 people, go and bring 4 people. But the more of us who are visibly peaceful but loud and standing up to what's going on, the better it's going to be for growing a pro-democracy movement that will defeat these thugs. And so, what they're doing is, yes, invoking fear. And, but the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, as FDR famously said. don't be afraid, be public, and be out there at these protests. And by the way, I don't think shooting pastors in the head with pepper balls is helping Trump's and ICE's reputation right now.
All right, I think we got time for one more quick one, and then we got to dip. We should just do this every week. How fucked are we? From Cassandra in Pennsylvania. It's all like we could do an index. I kind of think it's been stable the last couple of weeks. I can't say it's worse. I've been encouraged by the Democrats holding the line on healthcare with the shutdown. You keep hearing for years that healthcare is the issue that Democrats have to focus on and voters care about. Well, they're actually doing something visible about it. We could get more visible. Like you just mentioned, Joe, we've got No Kings coming up again. The slide into ICE at ballot boxes, I agree with you, Joe, is concerning and is probably what the thing should keep us all up at night. There's a ceasefire in Gaza as we're recording this. That's pretty good. What do you think, man?
I go back to my last answer. We're only as fucked as if we don't stand up to it. And there are plenty more people, like the 64% who want to not shut down the government want health care and want us to demand that we get it and lower their costs before we reopen this government. And so I think it's one thing to answer the poll question at 64%. It's one thing to say that only 23% of independents approve of this president and like 67% not disapprove, but strongly disapprove of the president. That's spectator answering a poll. We cannot be spectators. We're only fucked if we are spectators. If we take action, are loud but peaceful, and protest, and we're seeing, I think, real leadership in Pritzker and others out there, which is, I think, a big thing. But stand with them, stand with those pastors, and we will survive it. If they invoke enough fear that people stay home, and that's what they're going to try to do on Election Day 2026, is invoke real fear that if you're black or brown or the other, they're going to be ICE people and others looking for violent offenders, immigrants, whatever, illegal, whatever they're going to claim people are, and intimidate them into not voting. And that's how all authoritarians win that first vote. I mean, the real one, when they get it. They claim they got 87% of the vote. Well, that's the only people they let vote. So no, we can't wait till 2026. We have to be loud, visible, and peaceful, but make it clear, no more, not going to take it. The American people are standing up to these authoritarians. That will get enough of these Republicans in the House and Senate, when they see when they're more afraid of us and our votes than they are of him, that's when they'll start to cave and he will fall. And that's what we have to do.
I'll give you one more number, and someone just came to say hi. Yeah, that's right. I had to look this up while you were talking, but the latest YouGov poll on the economy, 19% of Americans think it's getting better, 53% think it's getting worse. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, but that 53% needs to know that. That's what I mean. There are more of us than there are of them. They're just louder, and they have the government, and they don't intend to give it up. And so we have to be, I think, understanding that it's not answering a poll, it's not tweeting or reposting something. That's great. But frankly, most of the time you're posting something to a bot or arguing with a bot. No, it's to be visible, to be organized, to be active, and to be part of the pro-democracy movement that will be visible and strong enough to defeat these, to show other Americans that it's safe to join us, to be with us, to be visible, and you keep that growing until they fall. And that's what we have to do.
Cool. Well, Joe, that's a good place for us to end. Like I mentioned at the top, everyone needs to go check out our latest podcast. Go check out Trippi Takes. We'll keep writing there. Anything else for us to end with?
Nope, I think that's it. And everybody have a good weekend.
All right. See you, Trippi.
See you, man.